This mansion is unhinged.
These ghosts definitely don't want to leave.
Death lurks around every corner.
Hello, foolish mortals. Welcome to Fandango's big ticket interview. I am your ghost host, Nikki Novak, and I am defrighted to be here with the cast and director of Disney's Haunted Mansion. Hi.
She's punny.
We love it.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I am so ready. Justin, you obviously understood the assignment because when I saw this trailer, I have not seen the movie, I was like, oh my gosh, so many little fun Easter eggs in there. But what I cannot believe is that you actually worked at Disney. This was your summer job. This is the ultimate in manifestation or serendipity. But was there anything from that experience as a teen that you actually brought into directing this film?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I wish I was a teen. It was a little bit later. I was in film school, actually. And I felt, one, very nerdy for being that excited about working at Disneyland. I was very different from my other film school peers in that way. But there's something so immersive about the way those rides are built, and the Haunted Mansion is one of those rides. And I was just like, every time I walk past this one step, I get goosebumps. It's like clockwork. It's a kind of storytelling that I was so excited to figure out a way to come up with a cinematic equivalent to, because it's its own thing and there's nothing like it in the world.
What was the step?
Oh gosh, so for me in the Haunted Mansion is of course when you get locked in that first room and the stretching room. When we start to stretch, it's like you just really feel like you're in a different place. They so completely take you outside of reality, and I just think that was remarkable.
You haven't seen the movie.
I haven't seen the movie, but I've heard you've all seen it.
I thought, and that especially. I mean, the movie's great. Everything you've done, you captured. I mean, you blended the humanity and the ride. But that scene that's the one that we always remember when we walk into the Haunted Mansion and the first time. I've been there dozens of times because I have 3 kids. At the park, but when those walls start going and everything starts perspective changing, man, you really did. You knocked that one out of the park.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks,
yeah, that was it.
Rosario, you're clapping. You all have, the rest of you have all seen the movie. So how amazing is it? It's like unhinged is the word in the trailer for the house. How unhinged is this movie?
The thing about it is it's scary, but it's, you get the individuality what Justin's good at, and a lot of things he's good at, but in that idea of allowing the characters to come through, I mean, you really get the feeling of the house, and that is because when we went there, it was immense. That thing was big, you can believe it. But what comes through in the film is everybody's individual character who have all kinds of problems that kind of meld together and synergistically in the ultimate experience of the Haunted Mansion.
I like what you did there with the pun about coming through. That was also very good.
And it's funny. The movie is funny. It's funny, y'all, and you'll have fun.
Yeah.
I'm not always the biggest fan of scary movies because I want to laugh, but I also don't want to be scared. But it's scary enough where it don't make you I gotta close my eyes, but just I can be present for this, and I feel joy in my heart while they going through all this.
Yeah.
I felt a lot of joy personally.
What is everybody's favorite ghost in the film? Because there's 999 haunts in the ride. I want to know from you, Justin, how many haunts are there in the film, and from the rest of the cast, your favorite ghost in the film?
Well, there are exactly 999 in the film. No, I don't know. There's I gotta say, for me, it's the Mariner ghost. I don't know why.
Yeah.
There's something about that painting. There's something about being lost at sea that just kind of speaks to me. And I felt look, I think this movie is a lot of things. It's a ride, but it's also about this young man, who is moving through something kind of emotional, and his ability to feel his feelings is what this movie hinges on. And, the sea and water and being lost at sea is such a beautiful, I think, visual metaphor for feelings and tough feelings. And I don't know, it's there's a moment when LaKeith's character Ben locks eyes with the Mariner, and that moment for me is kind of how I felt in this process. It's there's something we're channeling here that's just a little bit special, you know?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of things that are true to source material, and I experienced the ride, because that's what it is. It's an experience. It really is you, or it's unlike any other ride. I think it's real fun to go through. So seeing that the story that I was given paid close attention to detail in that way, it really excited me, because I don't enjoy seeing things that aren't the same as the thing that I enjoy. But at the same time, to Justin's point, there was rich, deep storytelling and characters that were compelling. And the way that was able to be merged and married together was unique, and I hadn't read it in a script in a while. So it was really profound to come across this, and it feels unsettling in just the right way. And I appreciate Disney for taking a step to do something different in terms of the storytelling, in terms of the casting, in terms of the director. This is a fresh, new take on something completely different than the original. And we're grateful for the original, but this is something that stands as its own beast, and I'm really happy to have it. And then sparring with people like Danny and Owen.
Oh my gosh, the scene with the two of you with the police sketch.
Yeah.
And Danny, your impression of the Hatbox Ghost with the lip, I'm gonna do it.
I know, my mom did the impression.
You know what I mean?
I've been doing that impression.
Have you been?
Yeah. My mom did it the other day. I was like, just based off of the trailer.
Such an amazing scene. What about you, favorite ghost?
My favorite ghost is the horse.
Yeah.
I like the horse.
Yeah.
And me being a unicorn and all, I just really can relate to the horse character, if you will.
Oh yeah, I forgot. My favorite ghost is also the Mariner.
It is. When you locked eyes, that was it, right?
Yeah, and I do like the metaphors of the ocean and being like water. Today I had like my nerves were a little, starting with press and everything, and my friend was like, be like water. And it reminded me how water is such a metaphor for so many things. And
It's a
your
scary
emotions
thing,
and
water.
feelings. Yeah, they flow like water.
Water's scary,
so.
man. I don't like to be on the water.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's scary. You get into a storm. That was like what you captured in the movie. Basically, you're in a there's a scene that we won't talk about because you're going to go see the movie. But there's a storm scene in this damn movie. I mean, and that is big.
Yeah.
And that's like, you look at, if you've ever seen like ships out in the sea or oil rigs being bashed by the ocean, water, scary as hell. I want to say where it was at, but I'm not going to say it because you've got to go see the movie to find out.
Yeah.
But my favorite, there's a couple big jumps in the movie, but one of them was that damn bride. I mean, that was scary. And there's some weird looking people in it. I mean, there's some weird looking ghosts. I mean, like with Owen, they look like they're understanding him, but they don't give a damn. They're gonna come after him anyway.
That could be the catchphrase for the movie, the ghosts, they don't give a damn.
You're in there, they don't give a damn.
I mean, I saw the movie at 10 o'clock in the morning and ended up calling everyone to just gush about the chemistry and the energy and just how just perfectly they embodied their characters. There's such brilliant moments of just growth and development and like nuances to each of these characters in the midst of all of this story that was like can be really emotional and suddenly pivot very funny. There's this very striking scene with LaKeith talking about these memories and it gets super emotional. I'm literally starting to tear up.
Wow.
And then you cut to his face and his reaction to the story and you're like, how are we going from crying to laughing like this? And we've got jump scares and all kinds of stuff that go on. So the movie is it's a ride. It feels like a ride. And I think that, talking about making that interpretation of the feeling of being in it. This was Walt Disney's, I think, one of the last rides that he ever approved of. It didn't even go into use until I think 2 years after his passing. And it's so interesting reading about the history of it because there was such a fight internally about like how scary do you make it or how funny and spooky, like is it scary or spooky and what that line is. And I think, Justin, you did just a brilliant job of like holding that line throughout the entire film. And so it's great. And so for me, the Axe Bride is the same for me, because we did a lot of stuff practically. So, these are folks who are running around with prosthetics on and these incredible costumes that Jeffrey did. And, it's just looked so cool on the day. But then like millions of dollars later, when you add all the special effects to add it to actually have them flying around and that axe flying through the room, it's scary. Like, it's like it went from, it's just a great balance. Like it was really thrilling. And I was just laughing about what a great time I had watching this movie at 10 a.m.
And I will ask only you. You have Ahsoka coming out, another Disney project. Your favorite Force ghost?
Oh my goodness. I think that's got to be Anakin for me, just because I'm looking at the history of it. He didn't even know that's what he was filming, apparently, and they threw it in. So he's all smiley and stuff, and they just put it into the movie, and he apparently didn't know that, and was like, "Oh, if I had known, I would have portrayed it a little differently." But he just I guess George just got this extra scene of him and just sort of threw him in there, which I just think is kind of amazing. So I like the very reluctant ghost. A very reluctant Force ghost.
I want to ask you about acting opposite Jamie Lee Curtis's head as Madame Leota. I've heard
Jamie Lee Curtis's head right off. We'd like to bring her in. Roll her in. We couldn't get her body, but we got her head, so
that's all we could afford.
Yeah.
I think Justin said that you two were like the most unexpected duo together. So how did that sort of work on the day? I know you shot a lot practically. Like, was she sort of like under a table with, CG afterwards, or how did that work?
It was like she was in a chair, and then she had to be really still here, and it was Rosario and I that was feeding her lines. Justin was feeding her lines too, and I think we all wanted the opportunity to say we acted directly with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yes, Oscar winner.
I was jumping down to do Danny's lines, coming back up like this, trying to give her eye lines for stuff. We were so excited. We were doing a lot.
It was the best. It was the best. And she's so funny, so fun, and so easy to talk to. And then her and Danny were telling me the best stories on the day we were doing the green screen stuff. Oh, you guys are the best stories.
Yeah, we can't repeat those stories.
We're not repeating those stories. They're going to have to pay a lot of money for those stories, but I got to get paid to listen to them. That's how I think of it anyways. And it was a lot of fun. She's so awesome. And she returns text messages.
And she's an Oscar winner. I forgot to say Oscar winner, Jamie Lee Curtis.
That's right.
Justin, what a cast you assembled for this movie. I wonder if you've ever seen the Met Gala of Jared Leto carrying his own head up the red carpet, because it's very half box killer.
Of course I've seen it.
Is that why you cast him in this film?
Honestly.
How deep did he go also? Because he loves to be unrecognizable in everything he does.
I promise you, if you did not know specifically that this was Jared Leto, you would never guess who it was,
you would have no clue.
Like one of the things about the movie, and Rosario talked about this already, is the ride has this quality where a trick has to be played here, but you cannot quite spot the edges. You can't quite figure out how they're doing it. And the Hatbox Ghost character is very much that. It's part man, it's part, CGI, it's part practical, and the voice is just incredible, but he literally transforms in this particular role.
And for you, how many, because I can just tell even just by the footage and the trailer I've seen, how many Easter eggs you put in this? I know Disney gave you the Bible, they took you behind the scenes of the ride. Can you tease an Easter egg or something that you were like, I have to put in this movie?
Honestly, everything I could, because I'm a fanboy. I come from that fandom culture, okay? And especially with something like this, I was like, it only gets richer the truer we are to the source, because the source is inspired. Like you were saying, there was a fight to figure out what the tone of this thing should be. And that fight, that tension creates something really magical about it. So, everything down to the paintings that were gone and then came back into the ride. I was clocking those. Okay, we got to put that in a prominent spot. Everything down to the doorknobs, okay? The way the doors are framed. Certainly the wallpaper had to be right. The ghosts had to be right. And the other thing that I wanted to bring to it is a real sense of culturally being really placed in New Orleans. It was really important to me that we say this house is in New Orleans. New Orleans is a very black city, and it has many different cultures that come together and mix and find this kind of harmony together. And I absolutely wanted to infuse, that sort of authenticity into the ride too.
I want to tell ghost stories because I think I'm uniquely qualified to do this interview, because there's a moment, LaKeith, where your character has a ghost possess him in the trailer and goes through his body. And this actually happened to me in Tokyo, where I was like, I literally had a ghost pass through my body. I'm not crazy. I wasn't
Okay,
asleep.
we're done with this.
So I'm wondering if any of you have had a haunting, an encounter, a ghost story. I'm going to start with you, Danny.
No, man. Don't start with me, please. I am a ghost. I'm haunting you all. If I told you my ghost stories, I would probably just disappear right now. Because the ghosts, I can't say. Okay, I can't even talk about them. They're,
Wow.
Well, this is getting real.
Yeah.
They make him sign the ghost DA.
It's even worse than that. It's not even. Can't even. It's not. Yeah, it's like you can't.
Well, I love the metaphor for soul reaping. Something that me and Justin talked about early on. That Ben is on this journey to find himself, find his soul. He's going through mourning at the beginning of the story, and he has to sort of reposition himself in life and find his feet after a terrible loss. And that's a difficult thing for a lot of us to deal with. I identify with that struggle and navigating the harder moments in life to try and find your true self. And so he had to give up some things that no longer served him to let in things that did serve him so he could find himself and be the person he wanted to be. That at the center of the story was really important for me. This is not just like cheesy, scary ghosts. This is a real meaningful story embedded in this film, and that is what really drew me to it in the beginning. And all of the little trinkets and treats and ghosts and VFX is all just serving that center story that serves as the spine. And that's something I really appreciate.
Well, I will end on a meaningful question then. There is a line in the trailer that you say, are you sure you want to enter this house because it will change your life? And I'm sure as actors, every set that you entered changes your life in some way. So I'm wondering how this experience of working together and working on this unique film changed you as performers.
Well, that's just yet to be seen.
Well, I'm a lot more patient now, and I am psychic. I'm a tarot reader. Check my TikToks out.
I knew that was coming.
TikToks.
Plug.
Tiffany Haddish.
It made me better. I was going through a personal transition in my life where I was just really working on my spirit and my soul, asking these questions to myself about things that I needed to unpack. And working on this film gave me the opportunity to be focused on something that was important, that I felt was important, that I had to show up for every day and sort of rally all the troops together and work with these really talented people who I grew up watching, like Danny and Jamie Lee Curtis coming in, someone who's a really good, spiritual, beautiful person. If you get to know her, you'll learn that. Rosario, who's always a perfect example of how to maintain balance in yourself. I don't know how she's always in such a good mood. It's a beautiful thing. And Tiffany, who's always reminding you to laugh and just, stay jovial and, just really have fun in the process. And so I couldn't be more thankful for the group of people that I was with. Love Danny. I mean, I invite him to my parties now. I'm like,
the thing is that this is been said a million times, but you have a fearless leader, and that was Justin. And you have people who really are dedicated, besides Justin, who is totally immersed in this, and we all are, give ourselves over to that. Sometimes you give yourself over to the wrong person. We gave ourselves over to the right person. And we were very fortunate to have him. Also, we have the technology, the people who did the Jeffrey Curlin, forget about it. His costumes are off the charts.
Talk about the shot between the two of them.
There's another Jeffrey the DP,
Waldron.
Yes.
Jeffrey
Yeah,
Waldron,
Incredible.
whose work is magnificent in the movie. And so that combination, it's always said to be a collaborative art. Everybody's together in it. And besides the fact that we become a family, the cast, and that I attribute to the director always.
Am I cooking?
And you're cooking. Oh,
Right, those
man,
goats,
I'm
that
telling
chicken.
you, that was like,
House party!
whenever she's cooking, I'm there, baby. I'm telling you that. And so that whole combination in this film, really worked very well, and we'll all remember it forever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, for me, it was like, you know, I had come off of several projects that had been very, very intense, a lot of ugly crying, and I literally just put out into the universe, like, I need to do a comedy or something, and then this showed up, and I just couldn't believe it, and then I'm with some of the funniest people to ever exist on this planet, and was super intimidated, but I have this amazing young man in Chase who's playing my son, and we would have these scenes where, you know, a lot of the times we're watching these experts that we brought into this house to help us try to do their thing, and just the chemistry between everybody and the fun of it all. And we would just be throwing our looks to each other, and just to see it play in there and stretch myself, because I don't do comedy very often. And it was just really fun to kind of relax more, you know, and play this still very tightly woven up kind of character. And I just loved the balance of her. I loved how strong she was. I loved how kitschy and weird and specific she was, and you know, and I just really loved how everyone jumped into their roles in that way, and just to be on set every day, just taking in people's process, because including when we watched Jamie's there with dots on her face and just doing this performance over and over and over again, huge monologue that she's doing, and you'd give a tiny little adjustment of a tonal shift, and it would be completely different. Yeah. And it was just mesmerizing. We'd be sitting there staring at her and then go, oh, right, we're supposed to be working with her. All right, let's get in. But it was just
taking notes
all day. I felt like I was taking notes all the time. They know how many pictures I was taking on set. Watching between him and Owen fighting was like one of the most hysterical things to ever witness in life. I was like, yes, please. It just was really great. And so I just definitely want to shout out to Chase, because he really is such a huge heart in this film, and what a remarkable young man and performance level, and how I felt intimidated at times showing up at set and like really holding myself. I mean, here's this child who is not a child. He's like a grown man 40. In this child's body, and just holding his own and like totally fearless. And it was exactly that kind of energy that needed to happen with all of us. We had to become more fearless together as a family in order to have any kind of triumph, and it was great to find that with each other.
And he had a growth spurt during the film.
He did. It was so. His voice started changing. Oh, yeah. We were like, he's like up here to me. We're like, this house is gonna work. We were like, stop it.
My main note to Chase was like, remember, you're 9.
Oh my God. One of the funniest scenes ever is he's supposed to play with these action figures, and he's like, what do we do? And you're like, what do you mean, what do you do? Play with them. He's like, I've never played with these. We're like, not shocked by that whatsoever. But we're gonna need you to figure it out. Do some research.
He's an old soul, so it was perfect for this film. I will let the fearless leader have the last word about how this changed you as an artist.
Oh my gosh, this was, look, my first movie, I made it in 19 days with less than $1 million, okay? So to go from that to something like this, where I think we shot for like, I don't know, 150 billion days, I'm not sure. Realizing that the job is exactly the same, but the scale is quite different, and the kinds of things that you have to balance are very different. And I felt like I was ready for it, but at the same time, I feel like I had to grow so much every single day working on this project. I mean, it's like I couldn't have imagined the person I had to become to complete this film when I started it. And that's, like Danny said, that's something that like I'll take with me forever. I'm a different director now, having made this film, and for the better.
You killed it. You know, I call everybody to be like, you killed it, you killed it.
Thank you all so much. I am possessed by all your answers and by this conversation. And to all of you, tickets are on sale now at Fandango. Bring 999 of your friends to go see this movie.